You know, some people prefer to live in a brand new apartment or house. These places aren't affected by falling plumbing, damp walls, or that, pesky ghost that used to live there but now hides under your bed at night. Don't worry, baby, he harmless, his name is Casper. But there is a charm to living in older homes. They have a history to them, and in some cases, they do contain bizarre extras just waiting to be found. In other words, if you live in something that's a little older, keep watching and get ready, because you might have these. Here are the 10 weirdest things found in old houses. Number 10 is smugglers' tunnels. Underneath an old merchant's house on the northeast coast of Scotland, an unusual discovery was made by a married couple. The house was once owned by a merchant named Alexander Brebner back in the 1800s. Being on the coast, what else was there to do but smuggle some goods? And that's exactly what Alexander did. What the owners of the house discovered was that there was a smuggler's hole at the back of the house. Someone had partially sealed it, but it supposedly leads to an old harbor where the goods would be brought in underground. The couple ended up selling the house, and several people bid for it, believing that smugglers' treasure was still inside underneath it. I'm always down for a good treasure hunt, seriously. Oh man, there was this one time when I had my metal detector and I found it. My lawyers have advised me that I should move on to number 9. Number 9 are shoes. Some old homes are bigger than others. Take the Gothic Liederberg Palace in Germany, for example. The palace is hundreds of years old, and when one of the walls was opened up, the people made a bizarre discovery. Staring back at them was row upon row of shoes. But no, these weren't your average Nikes. Nuh-uh. These were some of the finest collections of shoes ever found. The shoes themselves dated back to at least the 1700s. And this isn't the only time that old shoes have been found in strange places. It used to be customary to leave a pair of shoes in a wall of a house to ward off bad luck. I'm not sure that shoes would look great these days though. Speaking of sneakers, if you do like them, you should definitely follow me on Instagram because I'm a bit of a sneakerhead. I got way too many pairs. It's a bit of a problem, send help. Number 8 is a 400-year-old king. When a French journalist went into the attic of a former tax collector, he expected to find various strange objects the man had bought over the years. And he found just that: antique furniture, old clothes, some board games, and the head of a former king of France. The tax collector had put the historical remains of King Henry IV into a box and then forgotten about them. Experts were in fact able to verify that it was King Henry based on a scar he had above his mouth from an assassination attempt during his reign. It seems that at some point someone stole the artifact and then a couple bought it at auction, and then the tax collector bought it from the couple and put it in a cardboard box in the attic. Man, this gives me way too many vibes like from the movie Seven. If you haven't seen that movie, it's... think of the box. You just remember the box. Number 7 is a fully furnished apartment. When you need to fix an old home up, such as a leaking pipe for example, you don't expect to find that the previous owners had left an entirely furnished apartment hidden away. That's just what one man discovered when trying to fix a leaky pipe. Blocked up behind a wall was once a janitor's home when the building had been used as a school during the 1900s. The janitor had left belongings, antique furniture, and there was even a large stove furnace which would have been used by the janitor to cook and heat up the apartment when winter came. Why it was sealed up, nobody really knows. You know, if this was one of my creepier videos, I'd say just leave that stuff alone, but even if the stuff was cursed or guarded by a jealous ghost, free stuff, am I right? Number 6 is Civil War trash talk. This has to be one of the most bizarre finds in any old home. The discovery was made in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley area. A couple had just bought an old colonial home that was in bad need of some TLC. So they rolled up their sleeves and got to work. They started off by stripping the wallpaper, but what they found underneath the wallpaper was of genuine historical significance. 2 people had written on the wall, and it appeared that the writing went back to the Civil War. The first line was written by a Union soldier during a battle. It read, "Rebels rebels, if you can hear, we will whip you for sure. Of course, that was fighting talk, so a rebel soldier had replied with, if you do, it will be the first time, you impotent scoundrels. Ooh, sick burn. Number 5 are fingernail clippings. What would you do if you found a jar of fingernail clippings under your floorboards or in your wall? Take a second, answer in the comments. Believe it or not, many people have found just that in old houses, especially in buildings which are around 300 years old. The reason for this is that it was an old custom to ward off witchcraft. In some instances, people have found pieces of leather cut into a shape of a heart along with the clippings or even hair. This became a common practice because even legal courts are on record as having dished out this advice to people. In fact, in one instance in the 1600s, a husband was advised to do just that because he believed his own wife was a witch. Dude, just fun fact, there are way easier ways of getting a divorce. Besides, calling someone a witch is so 1600s. You need to get with some modern lingo. Number 4 is treasure. Okay, first off, if you haven't seen the movie The Goonies, you really should. It's a group of kids who find some old historical artifacts in their parents' attic, along with a map, and then go off on a wild adventure where they face dangerous criminals and even find a pirate ship. Hey, you guys! Well, truth is stranger than fiction, my friends, because every now and then, someone really does find an ancient treasure in their home. In 1985, just 1 year after The Goonies came out in cinemas, a hoard of treasure and historical artifacts was discovered in a small Polish town. Much of the town was to be demolished, but a few houses gave up ancient coins, gold crowns, and other jewelry. Just like the Goonies, the town was saved using the money from the treasure, though no one did the truffle shuffle celebration. It's a shame. Number 3 are tigers. Finding treasure or cash is one thing, but when you're exploring an old house, you don't expect to be staring down 4 giant beasts waiting to eat you alive. This is what happened to one Redditor when he was exploring an old place. When he climbed up into the attic, 8 eyes gleamed back at him. He thought he was a goner, but then he realized how still they were. The truth was that he had discovered 4 very real, very dead, stuffed tigers. They were fully grown, so they would have looked quite terrifying sitting there in the dark, waiting for someone to enter the attic. How the tigers got there, no one knows, but I do wonder who took the time to stuff them and whether they were hunted or were pets. I mean, I've heard about people stuffing their dog and keeping it at home, but 4 giant tigers? Man, these taxidermists are getting way out of hand. Number 2 are classified CIA documents. If it's a matter of national security, you can bet that any important classified documents are kept under lock and key in a number of secret places. But the last place you'd expect to find classified documents is in your own home. Believe it or not, that's exactly what one Reddit user did find. He was doing some renovation work when he discovered things hidden around his home. At first, he wasn't sure what they were, but then he realized that they were classified CIA documents, ID badges, and other materials. Wondering if the old home held some other weird secrets, he pulled up some floorboards and discovered an explosive shell dating all the way back to the Second World War. In fact, both the classified materials and the shell were explosive. Okay, I really need to see a doctor about this obsession I have with puns. And number 1 is Hitler's record collection. Families like to keep things in the attic. It's a good place to store stuff, and besides, it's given us plenty of good scenes in horror movies. But most of the items up there are mundane unless you're the daughter of a Russian military intelligence agent. In 1991, a woman named Alexandra went upstairs into her family attic only to find a large collection of old records. As it turns out, Alexandra's father had looted Adolf Hitler's record collection in 1945 and kept it in his attic ever since. The irony is that the dictator banned certain music, especially those made by Jewish artists. And yet, his record collection was filled with those banned records. So if you ever need to go up into an attic, maybe you'll find something interesting, especially if your dad was a Russian captain who found Adolf Hitler's stuff during the Second World War. I do realize that's a very small demographic. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, liking my videos, and of course subscribing to my channel. And a very special thank you to all of my channel members, especially the ones you see on your screen right now. Every single one of you helps keep my channel going. Thanks Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye now.